Help! My spouse is getting huge. Oh, brother, I'm going to step in where angels fear to tread. Studies show, you guys, that women who are overweight actually live longer than the men who mention it. Yeah, we're going there. Okay, this is a subject I doubt you're hearing too many people talk about it. I'm willing. Should you say something to your spouse when they're gaining weight? Here's a couple things I would recommend you think about here. If you married someone who was already overweight, my opinion is that's probably not a good idea. But I remember when I was in the insurance business, I was going to one school system, and I was new, and I remember I was meeting with a lot of the new teachers first. And there was one new teacher came in. She'd been a cheerleader, very active. She was very attractive, fit. And every year I would come back, she would put on about 10 pounds. And the 10th year I met with her, she was about 100 pounds overweight because I was selling insurance. We would ask questions about height and weight and things like that. And I just watched her over the years, and I must admit, I was thinking, her husband married this lady. She's become this lady. You guys, is it ever appropriate to bring it up? Is it ever appropriate to talk about it? Men to women, women to men, either way. I'm sure I've already triggered a bunch of folks who are like, I cannot believe this guy's talking about it. But there's a good number of you that are like, it's fair. It's a fair conversation to have. Here's why I would say it would be good if you could talk about it. Well, what if it was something else? What if you married a man and then a month after you got married, he started smoking, and he was never a smoker, and he smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day? Would you feel it's okay to talk about that? What if you married somebody and they were never a gambler, and then suddenly they're spending $100 a week on lottery tickets? Would you think you should talk about that? Or their spending habits suddenly are out of control? Or they're drinking too much? Are those things you should be able to talk about? And if so, why would it not be okay to talk about someone who had some, let's say, rapid weight gain? You get married and your spouse gains 50 pounds in the first year. Is that something you can discuss? Should you discuss it? And if you can't discuss it, what does that say? Because you may say, no, I choose not to. That's fine if you choose not to. But is it fine if you choose to talk about it? Because you're concerned about their health, because you're concerned about them. I remember when my wife had our second child. She had put on a little more weight than the doctor wanted her to during the baby. And then after she had the baby, months went by, and she was still about 50 pounds heavier than she wanted to be. And then she was prior to having the baby. And months went by, and her dad and I were both concerned. And we were like, I wonder what's going on. Because she hadn't really been talking much about it. And believe it or not, we went there with her, and we said to my wife, hey, we're just wondering what's going on. How are you feeling about this? Obviously, you've maintained this weight that you put on with the baby. And we had a conversation. Not many husbands and fathers are going to do that. We did, and to this day, if you ask her about it, she'll say, it was good. The way they did it was good. I received it. I needed to be called out in a sense. I needed to be approached on that because she didn't know. It's just where she was. She didn't think a whole lot about it, and it's what happened. What about you? I mean, I know, I already feel a lot of women's eyes are burning through me right now. I cannot believe you would do that. When is it okay? Ever? Never? What about the other things? Here's the thing about weight. If you got married to somebody that their hair fell out, hey, they can do nothing about that. I don't think you should say anything about that. If you married somebody that had, something else with them, they had big hips. Okay, well, they're probably always going to have big hips. That should never be a topic of conversation or concern, right? You had married somebody who had a crooked nose. That should never be, because you married them and they were that way. Now, I'm not saying that just because things change in a marriage, you should leave them, but I am saying, well, maybe you could talk about it, because your weight is something that you can change. It's something you can do something about. So I'm just going to say I would encourage you to have a strong enough relationship, a honest enough relationship, and I'm not saying it's easy, but where you can have conversations about this. You ought to be able to. If you want an honest, authentic relationship where you and your spouse are one, don't you think you should be able to have a conversation about this? It's not about what they're worth. It's not about whether you love them or not. It's if you can't have a conversation with somebody that's literally hurting themselves and it's going to suffer because of it, I think that's partly on you. You need to work on that relationship and get it strong enough where y'all can have those conversations. Don't you think? I do. Hey, thanks for watching. If you've never done my 21-day transformation, I know a lot of you watch and you're trying to do some of the things I talk about in these videos, which is great. I love it. But until you do my 21-day transformation, you're probably not going to have the mindset you really need to follow through on these. So there's a link in the description for that. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Trainer Joe. Remember, train your brain and transform your body.